Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Zach Celadonia.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and joining me here today, out of character, it's a late week show with one Flash Zach Celadonia. What's going on, man? We got you like Punxsutawney Phil over here. We got you out if you're up from under your rock. Saw your shadow, something or else going on, man.
Punxsutawney Flash, yeah, special occasions, man. They call for special times right now, and I am so excited. So gassed up. We're so close here to preseason action. Hey, tax returns, summer vacations, Batman movies, the Hangover movies, 4th of July, beer, preseason football. These are the things you get to look forward to when you live in America.
It's one of those looks right there. That's actually, that's more the look of, I just cashed in. Also, pull up.
The pocket's weighing him down. That's why he's in that squat position.
Yeah, it is, man. You know what? You know what drives me nuts? What's with the hoodie swag with like the wide receivers, some of the DBs? Like, I am not, it just looks hot.
I think some of them are doing that to lose weight. It's always cut season. You always want to get in your best shape, and they can cut calories that way. Because Harrison used to wear the hoodies and stuff too.
Yeah, Harrison, I mean, he's different. You know, Tomlin wears it too. I guess Tomlin, we've seen, I was wondering if Tomlin had like the, he skipped leg day, like chicken legs or something like that. Like, that's why he always wore like the longer like sweatpants. And I guess we got some photos. Like Teresa Varley was first on the scene with that, by the way. It was like we have spotted Mike Tomlin in shorts.
In shorts, yeah, yes. That was like a big deal. I didn't realize.
It is. It's like it would be like if Danny Smith like stopped chewing bubble gum or something like that. Or it's pretty interesting stuff. So we have a game and we have things sort of a game. Let's talk about approach to this first of all, and the things we're looking forward to and stuff like that. First of all, first game at Acrisure Stadium. Oh man, I've already seen like some shots of the scoreboard. It just looks boring, man. It really does.
Like a dentist office.
Yeah, without the magazines, you're just sit there and left to your own devices. Before they had devices, before devices even. Remember that? Like back in the day, didn't have the smartphones, the iPads, or anything like that. It's some boring times. So we'll see. Well, you know what? Cincinnati like just followed up and finally has a sponsor. It's like copycat league. You know what I mean? And,
I know Paycor. It sounds like parkour.
Yeah, it does. It does. It just sounds like it. I don't know. It's just as bad. I'm not going to say one is any better than the other. It's just both the winds of change are blowing. And apparently, Acrisure, they're going to have like Auntie Anne's pretzels and stuff. There was just like a press release like earlier. They've changed some foods, added some food items, churros or something else. Like
might be going to a Bengals game here.
Well, no, it's not the Bengals. It's Acrisure. Acrisure has it.
Oh,
so,
us.
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know, man. I'm not the big wait in line and miss half the game at the concession stand guy.
Same. No, I hate going to the bathroom, man. I hate missing any second.
I know when Goodell went and he changed all that stuff like a few years ago with like the extra points and stuff. Like I had the perfect like take a leak break. And now all of a sudden it was like must see TV to see if a guy makes an extra point or not. And they changed some of the commercial break timing with like punts and stuff like that too, where the team comes right on the field and starts playing. Like they tried to mix it up. It has taken dead space out for the TV viewer, but I'm sitting there like, hey man, that's like I sit in the middle of a row. Like I gotta time this just right and be able, like, if somebody else kind of makes their mark there and starts to get everybody else up, I'm like, it's like a conga train, like a Congo line. So I'm just like, I'm right there.
My social anxiety can't handle it either. I don't even like getting up in the movies if I'm not on the end, because you got to be like, oh, excuse me, sorry, me again. You know that like joke you have to do, like, oh, I know we're making it difficult on you guys. I hate that. So as much as I would like to partake in the adult beverages when I'm at the game, I actually, to the surprise of many, limit myself a good bit when I'm actually inside of the stadium, because I don't like to go to the bathroom. Also,
or spend the money on it.
$12 for a beer.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sticking with the Yuengling, which is about as best. You know what's great is like they used to. I don't know if they still do, but they have had on occasion the Yuengling Oktoberfest on draft. in the stadium. But it's like, yeah, pretty much everything.
Special edition.
Anheuser-Busch like rules the world with all of that. They just crush everyone that's like their competition. You're stuck. I'd rather like fire it up over in the tailgate lots and then come over. And maybe one to start the game, kind of keeping the edge off. I'm never to the point. I'll put it this way: I'm never to the point where, you know, when you're going to a regular season game and you're spending this kind of money on it. Even the preseason, let's be honest, who wants to be trashed and forget everything that's going on? Let alone I got to recall these things for everyone here on the show.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
You can't be inebriated. But yeah, those are like the for those who are going to be at the stadium, either Saturday, 7:00 kickoff. NFL Network, by the way, will be supposedly has the Steelers feed. So that's going to be what Bob Pompiani and Charlie Batch, and I believe maybe Missy Matthews. I think it was Missy Matthews was going to be the sideline reporter there.
They usually go with the home team on that.
No, not all the time. Not all the time.
Really?
I swear, like a year or two ago with the Eagles, got stuck with the Eagles broadcast on NFL Network. So it's like one of those things. If you don't have Kitty K Channel 2 out of Pittsburgh, you're not seeing the home broadcast. And then that gets to be boring too, because sometimes they cut away, which drives me nuts. They cut away and they got like somebody like some returning legend player or somebody or interviewing on the sideline, and you miss like 2 plays. And it's even worse when it's not the Steelers broadcast. It's like, I don't care about this guy from like the Carolina Panthers. You know what I mean? Like, show me the plays.
Calvin Austin's taking one back for a touchdown. They're interviewing Cam Chancellor on the sideline about going in the Seahawks Ring of Honor. It's like, all right, we hear people yelling.
Yeah, like what is going on with all of that? So, by the way, no Cam Chancellor, no Cam Dantzler or anything. And the Seahawks, the corner mystery, it was DJ Reed. I couldn't remember that name on the last show.
Right on.
I got confused with the Rams, same division, Demarius Williams with the corners. So, yeah, they're still trying to figure out in Seattle who's going to play there. And I guess Artie Burns is hurt. So you're not going to see him return to Pittsburgh for this game, and there's a few other.
Oh no, I didn't hear he got hurt again. That sucks.
Well, not seriously hurt, but I think his availability in this game is in question, as are as are a few. So let me see. I had this. This was Michael Sean Duger, who covers the Seahawks for The Athletic, and he says it's, let's see. Sounds like Seahawks on Saturday will be without Artie Burns, Sidney Jones, Jordan Brooks, Freddie Swain, LJ Collier, and Marquise Goodwin. And then says Rashad Penny probably out as well, though he may not have played anyway. Kind of way we're looking at it with Najee. And does Najee even have a carry? Maybe 2. And
I severely doubt it.
Yeah, I do too.
At this point, I severely doubt it, especially because we just mentioned this in the back room for a minute here. Tomlin said today that guys who've missed significant time, whatever that means, during camp so far, they're not going to play. Like, probably not. And Najee, honestly, at this point, probably fits that bill because he missed quite a few practices after getting stepped on the day that I was there, of course. Good luck, obviously. and the whole the battle at running back 2 right now is so intense. You've got a lot of guys fighting for roster spots and playing time. So and Najee's just so important. So I could see them sitting Najee for sure for this first game.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And let's face it, we might as well talk about who is going to play. It's going to be Jaylen Warren season from what it sounds like. But we're jumping the gun though. There was some news. We hadn't mentioned it. How far are we in? Almost 10 minutes, man. About 8.5. And we haven't mentioned a quarterback yet. And you know why? Because it's exactly the way that we said it would probably play out. Big surprises.
Yeah.
Dale Lawley was trolling the news like with this. Mike Tomlin, once again, I have to put out a depth chart. Of course he's asked. And to no one's surprise at all. And I've got to say this like a bazillion times. I know that you've been super heavy on Kenny Pickett and his rise. And again, I'm like, sit him a year. I'm like, I'm not into the hype train. I'm not a pick guy, so I'm not over the moon necessarily. But if he comes back around and makes everyone in the league look like a complete moron for passing on him like everybody had passed on Aaron Rodgers, then I'm here for it. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna complain about it. And then at the same yeah. And at the same time, I've been like, Mason Rudolph hasn't necessarily gotten a real chance to show us. People still argue this with me. I'm like, the 8 games he played in 2019, a complete garbage team. If you're going to say that Mitch came over from a bad Bears team, you got to say the same thing about Mason playing in 2019. His last 2 starts, say which will, I think have been okay. And then of course, Mitch Trubisky, who's the 50-game starter. We've always said all along, Mike Tomlin, he likes his veterans. He wants to play these veterans. He's been first up in pretty much all of these exercises in practice. There was a quote by Tomlin talking about, a delineation, first team, second team, whatever you may want to call it. But that was kind of like he also said those things will bleed together a little bit. So you've got Trubisky for, I don't know, you're going to get 3 series in, at least a first quarter. What's the quality?
Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is. He said that first team Trubisky, he's going to get a quarter. Mason's going to get the second and the third quarter, and then Kenny's going to get the fourth.
Yeah,
they said they might vary that a little bit. The only shock to me with that is they're giving Mason 2 quarters. So I mean, that's great for him. That was a little alarming to see because I thought they'd want to see more of Kenny. Honestly, maybe give him the whole second half, but they want to give Mason 2 quarters. But that's what Tomlin said today, that they were going to divvy it up: first team, first quarter; second team, second and third; and fourth team for the third or for the fourth quarter. Third team for the fourth quarter.
I think that's more cover your ass territory as the coach, because let's say the Seahawks have like 2 good drives and eat up most of the first quarter. Then you're probably going to have Mitch come out there and play a little bit into the second, at least get like a solid possession or 2.
He went on to say this is subject to bleed into different quarters, and that's their plan to go in like that. But I'm sure if Mitch is really if the starting O is really cold and we only get 2 drives, you might see them bleed into the second. Anything is possible to certain degrees with how they're going to divvy this up. And I know we've talked countless hours about the quarterback battle and what's going to go on, and I'm not surprised either that they're going to start it this way. The only thing that threw me off at all, that thought maybe they would let Kenny go first in this first game, was because Mark Kaboly, of all people, who is very much of the Mason hasn't been given a fair shake camp, was the one who tweeted the other day that he thinks from what he saw and heard that they would go Kenny second. And that really shocked me because I mean, that's exciting, but I had heard that it was probably, or thought that it was probably going to be Mitch, Mason, Kenny for this first game, at least the first game. They might change it up going forward, but him saying that really threw me off the tracks. But Tomlin confirmed today what most people expected, and that was Mitch 1, Mason 2, Kenny 3 for this first game. And I am willing to admit, I guess is the right word, that you can say Mason hasn't been given the fairest opportunity. I understand that. I think what makes it so hard for me to come fully over to that side, Red Rover, but because the Steelers, not Zach Celedonia, not Flash, the Steelers have accelerated Mason's clock here with the drafting of Kenny Pickett in the first round and going out to sign Mitch with the idea to probably be the starter. So they have only helped influence my feelings that I think I've seen enough of Mason. Them bringing in 2 other dudes have enhanced that feeling in my mind. I can admit, though, and agree that when you break down what Mason went through and what Mitch went through, it's very similar. Not the greatest teams around them, not the best coaching, not Tomlin, of course. I'm talking about Fickner. And I can see the similarities and where you and other people are coming from saying he hasn't been given a fair shake. My whole thing is his 3rd round pick and Kenny's 1st round pick. Mitch is the guy they brought in. So the Steelers are the ones putting off this image that they're ready to get somebody else in there. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. I see where you're coming from with that. I think there was something that made...
I think Mason does a lot of things well, honestly. I think he can do things well. I think he can win you some games. I've explained this so many times, and I don't consider myself a Mason hater. I've poked jokes at that. I can see what he can do well. But I've been trying to think of ways to articulate this and explain this better on the show than being such a waffler and being like, yeah, Team Mitch, Team Kenny. Oh, I'm okay for Mason. I want to be as transparent as possible. And I feel like summarizing it like that was kind of a good way, but I don't know. I'm still talking in circles, I feel like.
No, you're not, because Kevin Colbert was quoted. Let's start with Mike Tomlin was quoted to start this whole offseason process in saying that he wanted a veteran quarterback, and Kevin Colbert was quoted as saying that he wasn't going to leave the Steelers without an option at quarterback. And I think not only did they get Trubisky in-house, But then Kenny fell in their lap as well. And I'm not sure that they were planning on Kenny falling there, and they see Kenny. Oh,
I
that's
still
the thing
think
you got to
Malik Willis
remember.
was the plan, dude. I'm still falling back on
Could
that.
be.
I think
Can you
he was the
imagine
plan
that?
because with Mason and Mitch, they had the plan outlined where one of them was going to start all year. Malik was going to sit redshirt year regardless. I think he was truly the plan, and Kenny wasn't expected to fall to them. He did, and threw a monkey wrench in their plans because he's supposed to be pro ready. I think they were 100% on board with rolling with Mitch or Mitch or Mason before drafting Kenny, because I think Malik was the plan, but Kenny was the dream scenario, and it happened to work out for the Steelers. So that is what has caused immense confusion.
Well, I'm going to go one further. The forgotten guy here, rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins, may have been part of the equation too. They might not draft a quarterback at all, or they maybe like Malik falls in the third round and then that kind of forces their hand there, but they might have been looking somewhere else first round besides quarterback. And then the guy that's next door at Pitt that they see all the time, it's like, now if the Steelers would have passed on him in the first round, that would really raises the red flags. But I love how people say that. There's so many different like ways to look at this too. And it's like I said, I'm on the record as saying I think Mitch could end up being the next Charlie Batch for all we know. Lots of starting experience, lots of this and that, get you out of a pinch. But is he going to be the starter? Is he going to turn things around? Is he going to be any different? I've got a little wet feet on that. You hear good, you hear bad, you see good, you see bad, and that might be just the way it goes. And that's the way this game's going to go. And we're going to see, well, who's he out there with? And that's going to be part of the same arguments as like, well, Najee's not playing, or Pat Fryermuth's not playing because he's been dinged a bit, or Claypool, who wasn't available for practice yet again. I think maybe a couple days in a row here. He was off, then he was back on, then he was back off. So who's he out there with? And then I think that helps with your evaluation, because then you have Anthony Miller, who's going to maybe get a lot of reps with Mitch. He's going to get a lot of reps with Mason, and you're going to be able to maybe make those same kind of determinations or comparisons. So we'll see. The one thing that was interesting to me too was the SNR guys were talking about Landry Jones. And when you had Mason brought on board and you already had Josh Dobbs, like they weren't playing Landry at all. Landry wasn't getting that many snaps in training camp and stuff, because they already knew who he was and who they felt he was. And then all of a sudden Dobbs leads like 6 scoring drives, and just he's like, give me that. You know what I mean? That's mine.
I was there for that game, the Josh Dobbs Hall of Fame performance. I was sick. I was like, dude, this guy might make the team.
I know. And it's just so crazy, like looking back on that. Not only that, but he had already had a year in the league, so he ascends to the backup role. So they still sat Mason, you know what I mean? And
never forget, he had 2 great throws that year. Or maybe one was versus the Raiders, one was versus the Ravens. They both were for first down. So like I remember tweeting, no more Josh Dobbs slander.
Yeah, well, he had, did you say the Raiders? That was the famous X-ray machine thing. Well, he nearly threw a pick. DB didn't come down with that. That's why these guys play DB. It's because they can't catch. So, I mean, but you just get lucky. And he had a decent arm on him. We'll see what happens. Now with the Cleveland Browns, and they're going to be playing before the Steelers will, apparently, unless there's Deshaun Watson news. He's set to start. They're going down to Jacksonville just like the Steelers will next week. But
no, Deshaun Watson starting. They said that.
Yeah, well, barring any
if he's not
new news,
like preseason action,
somebody doesn't come out and lay the hammer on him from the NFL on Friday morning or something, you know what I mean? So that's always a possibility too. But the Seahawks are in much the same situation as we said on the last show. They're trying to sort themselves out in a quarterback battle to see who replaces the traded Russell Wilson. Between Drew Lock, formerly of the Denver Broncos, and then, of course, Geno Smith, who's been around the block a few times, too, and didn't look too shabby in Wilson's absence for those few games last season. And I think that's part of what maybe forced their hand there, too. Russ wasn't happy, and they saw what life after Russ could look like. And so we'll see how that ends up turning out against the Steelers defense. And who's sitting on defense? Is there anybody? Larry O might be out there. I might be excited to see him. I'm trying to think
Who's sitting on defense?
Yeah, I'm trying to think who might be out on defense this week. I don't know that there's anybody with like a Tyson Alualu. He just geared up, but very short window.
Yeah, they probably won't dress Tyson.
Yeah, and I mean TJ might be out, or Alex Highsmith might not play or play.
Oh yeah,
fully.
Highsmith has missed a couple practices now in a row. So Highsmith is a name you might not see out there.
Yeah, so it's like we don't have the official. There's no injury reports for preseason, so we don't have anything like that to go off of here. It's just a matter of everyone's going to be excited about the quarterbacks. And there's people, like we said this already, people are going to complain. If Mitch makes a bad play, they're going to be like, put in the other guy. If Mason's out there, they're like, why is he out there and not Kenny? Then Kenny's going to make a bad play, and then somebody's going to be like, why was this guy a first-round pick? They could have waited for him, and it's just going to be...
This is the only game that matters in the preseason.
Yeah, of course, the very first one. I mean, they all count, right? Ravens are about to go on, 20-some game win streak in the preseason.
Watch. I'm gonna put $20 on them tonight. That'll be the end of it. They'll lose because I put the curse in. They're gonna cost me $20, but to break their little stupid win streak in the preseason, $20 well spent.
You got the old kibosh like we try and do from the stands on the field goal kickers, which is always hilarious. But yeah, Kenny Pickett. Like I said, who doesn't want to see any of these guys succeed? If they succeed, then the Steelers, they could be set for years, depending on who comes out of this. It's just we all have our favorites. We all have our preferences. I try and put all of these guys on a level playing field as best I can. And I know some people will probably think I'm being a little harsh when I say Charlie Batch, but hey, Charlie came in around the same time as Tommy Maddox. This was the same thing. The Steelers were trying to find themselves. You had Tommy Maddox, who was the XFL MVP, the only one ever from the original XFL anyway. He won with the LA Extreme. I'll never forget that. Tommy Gunn comes in, and he had really pedestrian statistics too, and he wanted a contract, and they were like, nope. They went and drafted Ben, and Charlie Batch had played 4 or 5 years up at Detroit as being like the big guy, the hometown guy, too, with Pittsburgh, and that's why he's really beloved. And Charlie Batch, great, nice guy, but the Steelers defense was just lights out for like those mid to late 2000s, just you know what I mean? It could be a repeat. You got defensive player of the year. You got a top line of the line safety. There's a lot of cool things to see. So I know I jumped to defense, but let's still stick with offense. Let's be real. The thing we really want to see this weekend is George Pickens. And George Pickens may have his Pickens with the lack of depth at corner for the Seahawks. I mean, if Burns and Jones are both out and they're both kind of battling maybe for a starting role there where DJ Reed left, that could spell some trouble there. It depends on who's throwing him the ball, but it doesn't seem to matter through training camp right now. And of course, Calvin Austin III also got to be on that short list as well.
100%, man. The George Pickens experience has been one to remember. Not only me, but everyone, it seems like, has never seen or been aware. I guess maybe Twitter wasn't always a thing, but these updates we're getting every day. Man, if you were an alien from a different planet, or you just had no clue who was on the Steelers or what the Steelers were about offensively, and you were invited to go watch a practice or any of the practices so far, you would think that George Pickens is like the best player we have, like the focal point of the team. He is the number one receiver right now. And granted, I know people are already typing away in the comments. I know Deontay was missing time because of his contract and now the hip flexor. I know Chase's shoulder was hurt. So take this with a grain of salt, but he is by far the one right now, barring because of the injuries and contract negotiation with the other two. He has taken that role and ran with it. There was a tweet today, someone was complaining about the corner play, just some random person on Twitter, and some reporter was like, the corners have done well against everyone except Pickens. And he said it so subtly and was like, that's the truth. Like, they're doing well, but Pickens he can't be beat. He can't be tamed. He's dunking on Levi Wallace, Cam Sutton, Witherspoon. It doesn't take long. If you're bored, listen, go on Twitter and just name search George Pickens and watch the videos that people are putting up from practice. Illegally, I'm sure, but they're out there and you can see him dunking on dudes. And there's jokes. We're all having fun embellishing. I've seen, he's Randy Moss mixed with Jerry Rice, mixed with Jamar Chase, mixed with Hines Ward. But he really does have the makings of, I'll bring it a little more back down to earth to people. I won't go that far, but you could see an AJ Green, CD Lamb, Justin Jefferson type of rookie season from him. I'd love to say Jamar Chase, but Jamar Chase he set the world on fire last year. But we are setting up for a monumental rookie season from George Pickens, and I couldn't be more excited to see how he works. Austin too. Austin to a different degree. He's been having a great camp in his own right, showing off his speed, making plays in the quick game with screens, making plays in the long game with long passes. I think both are set up to have good games. I have written down here in my notes, Pickens, do something awesome, then get out. The other day he like slipped and fell in the rain and like got up limping. And I said, all right, boys, practice is over. Hit the showers.
Yeah,
he has shown enough, at least in practice.
Weather has been like a bugaboo for all of camp. I mean, and they just kept changing the times and everything like that, and just playing.
I know, it's wild. I feel bad for people that are trying to like make plans to go out there, and I think it was like 3 days in a row. Yeah, yours truly, 3 days in a row. They moved it from like 2 to 10:30. How do you plan for that?
Yeah, you don't. You just hopefully you're already in the area and you can be a part of that. But some more. Let me see. I'm trying to think. I'm going to look here. Pull up. Let's see. I had
the receivers in general. We can stay on that group if you want, because there's a nice little battle going on.
Oh yeah, Anthony Miller. Anthony Miller. Obviously, I'm going to be very pumped to see what he ends up doing in the preseason game. Hopefully something, you know what I mean? It's like, how many plays are you going to draw up? You're going to have maybe 50-ish plays that the teams each run for a preseason game, about 3 hours of action in real time. So, there's only so much of the football to go around, but I do think that they definitely will draw something on the board specifically for Pickens, specifically for Austin, and test them. That is something that's going to end up happening.
Did you see my tweet today?
Which one?
Right, that's the $1 million question. I might as well say it on the show because it's out there on Twitter. First play, book it. It's going to be a play action, little rollout guy. Thought Pickens deep. Mitch to Pickens deep. I don't know if it's going to work, but that is just classic. Number one, it would be sick. Number two, I think that it's been well documented that Mitch has a pretty good chemistry established with Pickens so far. Most of his best plays, Mitch's, have been to Pickens throughout camp. And number three, what a better way to get the boys going. We used to do that with Todd Haley. He loved going deep early, but just because of how it seems to be in the cards and in the tea leaves that Pickens is so featured and Mitch is vibing with him so well, put a pin in that. First play action, deep, Pickens.
Very well could be what ends up happening. That's Todd Haley. We'll see if Matt Canada is in the same neighborhood, but we may as well bring up, I have him on a hot seat. In fact, I had Ulysses Gilbert III on the hot seat on the article from the middle of the week, and released at 4:00 later that day, or maybe it was official, today or whatever, but that was yesterday. I was like, holy cow, talk about hitting a nail on the head. Miles Boykin needs to.
Why, he's the boss, people. You see that? Can't hide talent.
Yeah, I told you, not just a hat rack, but Miles Boykin had him up on here. We will see. Yes. We will see, because they're just overloaded. You know what? I had some good action shots of Gunnar Olszewski. I should have had him. He looks very Kenny-esque with the Aaron Rodgers-esque with the hair. He's got the longer hair. He's starting to look like you. But Gunnar, it was Labs was talking about him. He said he saw enough of him as a receiver to think that his spot is safe with the special team stuff. And I said, man, I'm glad. I like hearing people who think the same way that I do. I don't always agree.
Seems to be the consensus, honestly, that Gunnar is all but safe right now. Because he has flashed as a receiver, and the return job. We're pre-game one here, but nobody else has flashed in a net where you're like, oh, that job is up for grabs. Gunnar seems pretty safe at this point. So I'm in agreement entirely that you got that nice little hodgepodge, that battle at the bottom there between Boykin, Miller. Vaughn has made some nice plays to his credit. And then am I forgetting someone? Cody White.
They called Cody White a cockroach that they can't get rid of.
Yeah, it seems like it.
That is like, I don't know. It's like, is that a compliment? I guess it is. But
his dad's on staff now too, so look out for that nepotism. People are going to complain if he makes the team, I think.
Yeah, that's well, it is business.
Not his fault, but
it is business. And we still glossed over the running backs, but Jaylen Warren, we'll see what Benny Snell ends up doing. Anthony McFarland should get some time too. And,
the RB2 race is in fuego right now.
Yeah.
I have that. That was the first thing I wrote down when you sent me, we're going to talk about what we're excited to see with the first game. I wrote down RB2 race first thing, because I'm a McFarland guy personally, if my heart's in it, because McFarland just gives what I personally desire for an RB2, especially pairing with someone like Najee, who's so downhill, so strong, he's versatile, but Najee has a specific running style. McFarland is your receiver out of the backfield. He can go in motion. He's so fast. He adds a different dimension to the offense. When he was coming out, he drew Alvin Kamara comparisons, and that's a huge stretch right now. But that is the type of player that you can get with Anthony McFarland. He's been hurt. He's been in the doghouse, so don't know how that's going to go. But just like last year's camp before he got hurt, he's been making plays routinely. Today I saw that he caught a nice wheel route from Mitch over someone. I think it might have been Bush, but he was doing that last year. So McFarland definitely like that. And but Benny Snell is the camp incumbent. The guy who's been here, the guy they feel safe with, the guy who doesn't really do anything wrong to his credit. So how strong of a grip does Benny Snell have on the RB2 spot? Does he have a grip at all? Because honestly, it sounds like this Jaylen Warren kid is taking the RB2 spot and running with it. He busted off a 70-yard run today, I saw, from Dale Lawley.
Yeah, I saw that
he's
too.
He's a downhill guy, but he's shifty and got quicks, which is a rare combination. And if he can come in and win this job, more power to him. I'm genuinely excited to see what he's got. After I was on here hooting and hollering about Mateo Durant because his name reminded me of Kevin Durant, it's looking like Jaylen Warren is the lead dog, at least in that undrafted category.
Yeah, I'm with you. And those are the guys that should be seeing more time, especially in the preseason. So that's going to maybe behoove them. And the more you see, and that's where the complaint's going to be about Kenny, of course, just jumping back to that real quick. And we'll see who starts game 2 and who gets more time. And of course, what's going to happen. It's going to be Mitch starts game 2 at home or on the road, Jacksonville. I'm sorry. So at home, you don't see Kenny as much. Everyone's going to whine. Everyone's going to complain. Everyone's going to cry. And then Mason will end up having like 2 or 3 series, and it'll probably be lackluster with some second team guys. And then all of a sudden, like, everyone's going to be like, aha, see, the second game, they played Kenny a lot more. That means Kenny has a firm grip on whatever. And it's like, come on, just knock it off. Don't. They're
going to try different things. I think similar but different. I think they might flip next game. Depending on how we do here, they might flip and have Kenny go second, Mason go third. I think that could still happen. But either way, you're right that people are going to complain. They'll find a way no matter what. They're going to pick apart. Watch how conveniently when player X makes a bad throw, they're going to say it's on the receiver or the coverage. And then when George Pickens dives with one hand to pull one in, they'll say it's a good throw. Like I'm already ready for that.
That's like the last 3 years of Ben Roethlisberger. And that's the thing. It's like when Mason went out there and played against the Lions last year and they lose a game because Kendrick Green's throwing the ball over his head and Freiermuth and Deontay Johnson fumble the football. All of a sudden it's Mason's trash and he can't beat an unbeaten Lions team or whatever. And I'm like, what did the Steelers...
He played decent that game. I've said he played good that game.
But when does Ben get... Ben, like, everybody yelled when Dante Moncrief dropped those balls against the Patriots that opening week of 2019. And then, of course, Rudolph's first interception goes off of his hands the same way, and it's Rudolph is garbage, but Ben is God and walks on water. So It's just one of those things, like, and it's not to disparage Ben. We know he had diminishing, what do you want to say, like talents or whatever, and also around him, the offensive line, which is something we need to talk about too, and see how that ends up working out. And of course, this is an opportunity for Kendrick Green, as you noted. There may not be Kevin Dotson out there, so Green may be out there with the ones, and we'll see how he looks.
Definitely out. That's
confirmed. Yeah. Well, that's kind of of course. So I'll retract. This is the opportunity that Green is looking for to be out there too, but he's not snapping the ball anymore, and it's just, again, nothing against Ben there, but we're going to see some different things maybe in the playbook where Ben was 39 years old. He's not running around like a baby deer. So he doesn't have those spring legs, the spryness to him that he used to have to extend plays. We'll see. We got to get off of offense, though. I got to stop talking about quarterbacks, bro. It's going to drive me crazy. But I am thinking, though, I'm not against trolling. It's like, what jersey do I wear to Acrisure Stadium on Saturday? I do think I'm going to go against my usual, where I like to wear home, black at home, white away. I got to wear what they're wearing. I'm going to have to wear my road Mason Rudolph jersey. just because
You're gonna get
he's
two quarters,
playing.
brother. You might as well.
He's playing. I gotta support the guys that are playing out there. So it's like,
You'll look really smart. If he goes bombs away, you'll look really smart.
I know, but I don't have a Mitch jersey yet. Kenny will probably be on the way. I think Kenny will be ordered because Kenny's going to be out there at some point. But I'm pumping my brakes on buying a Mitch jersey until, it might be the same thing. Remember, I told you the story about getting the Duck Hodges jersey, and then by the time I got it, he was gone. He wasn't playing.
That's the worst, dude. I never got to wear. I think I've had a couple like that. Steve Nelson I bought just when I was on a spree the one day. I don't think I ever wore his. I never got to wear. I had like a bunch of variations of Juju. Didn't wear all the ones that I had of him before he was gone. But yeah, let's talk defense.
Yeah,
but
well,
the offensive line,
I had an AB one with the block numbers, and they never wore like he left, and then I bought a Juju with the block numbers, and then they stopped wearing them. They only wore them for like 2 years.
I have a Deontay block, or no, I have a Minka block number 1, but something's off about it. I got it from one of the China sites, and the font doesn't look totally right. So I think the block number 1s you might have to shell out for the actual NFL site.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see the offensive line, which would shock some people though, because we're going to see it because you see it every year. Prepare yourselves, listeners and friends, that once the first unit is out of there, we're going to get sloppy football on both sides, both for the Seahawks and the Steelers. It's not going to be pretty. We're going to see
unit, or once they're out of there, first unit could be sloppy too. You know what I mean? Especially since, like we just said, Kendrick Green's going to be in place of Dotson, and Najee's probably not going to play. Pat's probably not going to play. Claypool. So you're going to have second teamers with that quote first team anyway. You had mentioned, I don't want to gloss over this before defense, and we'll get some defense as we go through, where some of the numbers to look at, because people are going to be like, who the heck's that guy? And on defense, at least, if Larry Ogunjobi's out there, he is sharing a number with Dan Moore. That's
what's that all about?
65.
And making them fight to the death over that.
There's got to be somebody that's going to get cut on the bottom end of this list. Well, of course, this came out. Ulysses Gilbert's still on this depth chart, even though he's not part of this roster. But Mark Robinson, he's wearing 93.
93. Yeah.
Man, there's some I don't like 90s for inside linebackers in the Steelers system. Of course, I don't even like 56 on Alex Highsmith, though. I love Alex Highsmith. But you also have, what was it? KZ is wearing 24, sharing that with Benny Snell.
Yeah.
And then Levi Wallace, the new guy, 29. So it's going to mess with your heads a little bit. And Carl Davis has changed numbers to 38 because of the Kenny Pickett factor. And I know you've got a couple others. I won't steal all of your thunder. So like Tyler Vaughn's, throw that out there. Master Teague might get some carries. So what?
Probably, especially if Najee doesn't play. Teague will probably get in like with the fourth quarter, I'd imagine.
33.
Yeah, so there's a lot of guys wearing numbers that you might not notice. So just to run through them, because there's some that I didn't even know. So this is for the people. We're for the people on this show, for content, for the Steelers. So number 1, Gennard Avery, who is going to be playing, I imagine, a good bit with Alex Highsmith sideline. Remember, Gennard Avery was signed from the Eagles, former draft interest of the Steelers, Memphis, I believe. He's wearing 49, gross, right now anyway. And you got Mason Cole, the new center. He's in 61. James Daniels is in 78. The Davis brothers, Carlos Davis, who's been on the team, he's wearing 73. And his brother, Khalil, is wearing 68. I never see any pictures of Khalil practice, so I'm hesitant to even believe that's really his number, but that's what the website says. I'll stick with defense, even though I just mentioned Cole and Daniels, but they're new, so people got to know those. Miles Jack is 51. Buddy Johnson is 45. Would love to see a little bit more from Buddy Johnson than we've seen so far, being the first of 2 fourth-round picks last year. Dan Moore was the second fourth-round pick. People forget that, unless I just messed that up. I don't remember. I might have messed that up. But either way, Dan Moore immensely outperformed Buddy Johnson.
No, you were right. Two fourth rounders. Yeah. Buddy Johnson. Yeah, you're right. It was the fifth rounder. They came back in the 5th round and grabbed Isaiah Loudermilk.
Yeah, no, but I think I messed up because I think I said that Dan Moore was the second pick of the 4th round, but I think Johnson was. So
yeah, I believe so. Four straight on offense last year.
Yes. Okay. Yep. Thank you. Yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm. Carl Joseph, like you said, he's wearing 38 because Pickett got number 8. But I heard Carl Joseph was fine with that because he also wore 8 in college. So usually dudes who wear single digits in college are like, all right, cool. Like I'll wear this number. That's a variation of my single digit. So Joseph's in 38. Casey's in 24, like you said. Ogunjobi 65. Rashid Jr., the guy we just signed from the Giants, undrafted free agent last year, who replaced Ulysses Gilbert on the roster. He's an edge rusher. He's wearing 46. Mark Robinson, the 7th-round pick, he's wearing 93, Joe Schobert's old number. Keep an eye on him. He's been popping a little bit in practice. Delonte Scott, wearing Shazier's number 50. That is a name that I have heard routinely making a name for himself amongst these edge rushers not named TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. Tuzar Skippers in 53, former camp darling. Chris Steele, the USC undrafted free agent cornerback, great name for a Steeler. He's wearing 26. I've heard him make a couple plays recently. And those are the ones that I would think people wouldn't know for the most part. So,
well, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. Marvin Leal, who I'd say might feast, and he's going to be wearing 98 over there on the line. And then that's not Heath Miller. Number 83 is Connor Hayward. I mean, we've got the jokes. We've definitely got the jokes, but
is he going to play the whole game or what? Because if you go to a practice, you would think Connor Hayward's going to play the whole game. He goes with 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, all the teams.
Yeah, he does. And then number 10 is Mitchell Trubisky, because I'm trolling the people that are here, particularly our 2%ers that are left. They know these things. They've been paying attention. They spotted this. They'll at least pull up the app. But there's going to be somebody
Pickens
on Twitter.
Is 14 for
who's
now.
That guy in 8? Who's that guy in 8? Like, they're not going to know. So 13 is Boykin. 17 is Anthony Miller, who may make some big plays. And then I think Tyler Vaughn's is 80, and Steve Sims is 82. So that kind of rounds out some of it. And people will forget the guys that were already on the roster last year. 21, Trey Norwood. Who else? 42, James Pierre, who could be
Mollett is 35,
playing for his life here. 92 is not James Harrison, it's Isaiah Loudermilk. So you get a few of those guys that are sprinkled in, and we'll see. I think a lot of the veterans might get to sit a little bit. 51, Miles Jack, also a new addition. I think you said Jack at the beginning anyways, but it's still it's pretty cool. I'm interested to see what the defense does. How vanilla are they going to play? That's usually the biggest problem is like they're not sending the house on blitzes or anything like that.
Yeah, it's almost like Pro Bowl rules. No blitzing.
Yeah, for real. Like it really is like that in a lot of cases. It's I don't know. They have like a handshake agreement, and that's something we should mention too. It's almost like a handshake agreement that they're going to get their stuff in and work on certain things. They're not opening up the playbook and sharing it with one another, but at the same time, that's why the score doesn't matter. And you're going to have like maybe some garbage time points, and the Steelers pull out a victory with 10 points in the fourth quarter. It's going to be off of Nick Skiba's leg. I don't even know. He's not on the, I wanted to do that, the pronunciation key, since we're getting trolled a little bit on some of that with the Gennard Averys and whatnot. But this was kind of funny. It was Tyson Alu and Fryermuth, DeMonte KZ. We got that one on the money.
Yeah, from day one, since day one.
Yeah, Henry Mondo instead of Mondu. Gunnar Olszewski. That one should come pretty, common for the Pittsburghers out there.
I feel like there's an F in there, Olszewski, but there's not.
Olszewski. Oi, double yoy. And let's see, Jace Sternberger, as though that one shouldn't have been. And you know what? That's an interesting guy to look at. We didn't talk tight ends. You mentioned Connor. But there's like a battle there. There's like a lot of depth at different positions there. And Sternberger and Rader, and of course, Zach Gentry.
Oh, yeah.
Derek.
A lot of the Pittsburgh media is saying that the receiver battle is so jammed up. I'm like, dude, so is tight end and safety. There's a real log jam at tight end and safety.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one, of course, I'm saying all of this is because you got Derek Tuska, and then it's Levi Wallace. And it says in parentheses here, this is the official publication. This goes to the opponents and everybody. This is for everyone to just laminate and go through play by play as you're looking for numbers, radio, TV. It says Levi, like the jeans.
Like the jeans, the jeans.
That's so crazy. It's like, well, okay, we hope you're hip and been with it. You never know. Like Bill Hillgrove, I think this is his 29th year on the air doing Steelers radio. That's pretty impressive too when you think about it. So I don't know. Do we have a whole lot else? I mean, there's nothing we can really beat to death. I think most of the excitement and most of what we're looking for quarterback, and then some of the other position battles, it seems like it's all offense. You know why? Because all that money spent on the defense. We know Mick is going to be there. Edmonds has come back. We got the corners, and we kind of have an idea where they're going to be at. Miles Jack. Okay. Devin Bush against Robert Spillane maybe might be some type of battle, but it should be like
the backup edge rushers for sure. Backup edge rushers. I want to see who shines at that group. After hearing Devontae Scott has been doing so well, Tuska's getting a lot of the reps with Highsmith out. Avery, who we mentioned, Skipper's still in town. So backup edge rusher will be a fun battle, I think, for people to keep up with. Corner, too, that Steele's been making plays. Safety, like I alluded to. So there's storylines on defense for sure. But flip side of the offense, they are the bottom depth chart guys, more so, battling on defense, almost 100% so. We're just looking at depth battles. Where on offense, we're looking at guys who are going to see significant time.
Yeah, of course. We're going to want to see what Devin Bush does. Everyone's still going to be on his case no matter what. And we didn't mention Carlin Splittell. I know we're going like 90 deep on some of this. I think they only got to go down to 85, though, on, I think it's Monday or Tuesday is the cuts. I think it's Monday because there aren't that many Sunday games. You've got some, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday sprinkled out throughout with the preseason, the NFL Plus that they're doing now and things like that. So
Monday would make sense. Monday feels like a cut day.
I have it, and I will find it because I'm that kind of guy. Teams reduced to 85 on the 16th. It's Tuesday, and then again on the 23rd and 30th. Yeah. So I go from 80 and then to 53 right before the close of the month of August. So again, resourceful, man. I got all the screens going and everything like that. Almost seemed like I know what I'm talking about, like I'm prepared, because some people say I don't. So, but
the listener experience.
Hey, you and I are going to be back at this Monday, not Sunday. We're not going to do this on Sunday. We'll do it on Monday. I mean, I'll be coming back from the Berg and checking out the game, and we'll talk. We'll do our actual Monday morning quarterback probably on Monday, and we'll talk about what we saw. And there's like 5 guys, though. Like the 5 guys, it might be one of the specialists. I think those are the low hanging fruit as far as backup punter, backup kicker. We'll see, though. I didn't mention Presley Harvin, but he's got to be consistent. He's got to be in year 2 here. Those jobs are never safe. But Boswell, they might keep that Nick's. I wish I knew how to say his name. Of course, it's not on the pronunciation key because nobody cares about the specialist. Skyba.
The disrespect.
Yeah, but he might be around just so we don't have another Sean Sweejum incident where he gets hurt in the preseason and they're scratching their posterior as to what to do at the kicker position. But hey, I'm all for it. I'm here for it. Preseason football is here, man. Hey, thanks for taking some time out of your schedule. We said in with the new. Brian, man, you're out there listening, hiking, catching some mountains out in the Pacific Northwest or whatever he's doing right now. Brian will be back at some point. Brian's spot is safe. He's still on the 53. So, I know somebody's going to say, where is it at? Where is he at?
We're like Derek Watt and Connor Hayward. We can coexist despite popular belief.
Absolutely.
We can both be on the roster. We do different things.
Yes, you do. Absolutely, you do. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, check out the game or catch a replay wherever you might be at. I know it's preseason football, but there's still things. Hopefully we gave you enough of insight to, you don't have to do a preseason bingo or drinking game or whatever somebody mentions this, that, or the other thing. I think Charlie's I'm getting into this bad habit of saying, and that comes from my uncle, man. And I will say I bumped into him. I was in town last week. I cut back through the homeland there, and he's a hardcore Brownie guy. And he said Kenny Pickett was definitely the pick because there's still people that are complaining about that. And this is coming from a Browns fan. That's who he would have taken. And he would also sit him a year too. He's never been a guy that's been gung ho on Heisman players. He was still on Baker Mayfield. And then he said, this is what he said about Deshaun Watson. And it's coming from a Browns fan. And he said, you know what? Found a sucker. That's what he said. He found a sucker. And I'm like, I feel you, man. I'm like, I don't want to say a whole lot about it. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you had this, they were this close. You finally beat the Steelers in a wild card game, and it had to feel real good to be a Browns fan. You're back on this.
He's calling the Browns the suckers. Like he found the one team that was going to take him. Yeah.
And he's saying Watson's the one that suckered him. So we'll see how that pans out too. We're going to see him play at least and see guy hasn't thrown a football in over a year. So, I mean, he's thrown it, but not in like any type of actual action. What happens if he goes out there and throws a pick or two or something like that, man? They're going to be really up in arms over that. Cause like I said, you got that taste that finally in the playoffs up battling, toe to toe with the Chiefs.
And quarterback's a mental game. One of the most mental positions in sports. You can't tell me that he's having a good time right now.
No, it's all these outside things. These are what the agents are there for too, man. They're there to make sure, Flash, that you wouldn't have to order your own McDonald's. They'd bring it to you, but they would probably have somebody make you a better version of it, and not even just the upscale Chili's. Chili's is just like, let's double down the calories, so it's even worse for you.
So fast. If it was a hand and foot kind of deal with McDonald's, that'd be. You talk about the supersized documentary. I'd push that limit.
Yeah. So, hey, man, seriously though, thanks for joining all of us, and thank you everyone out there, our supporters, listeners, viewers, and everything like that. Stay tuned. 7:00 Saturday, Acrisure Stadium, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We made it. We're here. It's the finish line. 4 seasons. What's that say up there? Winter, spring, summer, and football.
Checks
and
out.
Football's here. It does. Check out. Till next time, folks. My name's Joe, and his name's Zach, or Flash, whatever you want to call him, as we encourage everyone out there each and every time, as we do here on the close out the Steel City Underground podcast. Be safe. Man, I almost butchered that. Be safe. Be good.
Come on.
And we'll catch you later. We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.